It's 200 years today since the first map of Australia's coastline was published. Matthew Flinders was the Englishman who first circumnavigated the country, but the first published map was produced by the French naturalist Nicolas Baudin. The pair actually crossed paths during their long voyages around the coast, meeting unexpectedly in the waters of Encounter Bay near Victor Harbour in South Australia. Well, both maps are centre stage of a 4-day Australian and New Zealand map conference beginning at the State Library of New South Wales today. Elise Edmonds is the library's curator of maps.
That's right. So the French map was published in 1811. It was published before Matthew Flinders' map. That was published in 1814. And it was primarily because Matthew Flinders had been detained in Mauritius on his way home. The English and the French had started up warring again. And Matthew Flinders unfortunately had a rocky relationship with the governor of Mauritius as well. So he ended up being detained in Mauritius for 6.5 years. And in that time, the French managed to publish their maps and charts of Australia.
Well, both maps show the very familiar coastline of the country, but are there any big differences in the detail of the maps?
Yes, the French maps have beautiful cartouches, which are artworks in the corners of the maps, and they show Australian scenes and Australian animals. The English maps are perhaps a bit more pragmatic, a bit more detailed but plain. And the French maps also are fascinating to look at because of the French names that are particularly along the southern coastline of present-day Victoria and South Australia. The French named all of these the coastline and the bays with French names, and in particular the coastline of South Australia is called Terra Napoleon, and the Gulf St Vincent and Spencer Gulf is actually called Gulf Napoleon and Gulf Josephine. So it's a really fascinating map when you stare closely at it.
Now, when the two met each other in Encounter Bay, tensions must have been high, not just because they were both trying to do the same thing, but also because it all happened against a background of conflict between the two countries. So it must have been an uncomfortable meeting.
It was surprisingly cordial. They each report, I suppose, the surprise when they are sailing along and they recognise another European ship in the area. But it was very cordial, despite the political goings-on in the Northern Hemisphere between Britain and France. The two captains, Baudin and Flinders, met and actually discussed in detail their scientific expedition, their charting, and so it was really just two captains discussing their love and their passion for exploration. So it actually went surprisingly well.
Elise Edmonds, thank you.
You're welcome.